Have you ever wondered if some of the legendary creatures you grew up hearing about were actually real? Sure, you've seen them in movies, some breathing fire, some with multiple heads, and maybe you've even heard someone swear their uncle once saw one in real life. Today, I'll take you through 7 such creatures that science says did exist. This is part 2 of our series, and trust me, you're in for even bigger surprises than what you saw in part 1. Let's start with a creature that has kept sailors shivering with fear for so many years, the Kraken. Picture this, a massive creature that looks exactly like an octopus rising from the deep ocean, its arms so long that they could comfortably wrap around any ship as if it were nothing more than a toy. Stories have it that this creature could easily crush ships and even drag entire crews beneath the waves. And here comes an interesting scene. If at first it didn't succeed on this quest, the Kraken would stir the waters into a deadly whirlpool, making sure that no matter what, nothing escapes. Was this creature real? Yes, but then not exactly as the stories tell. The Kraken is actually the giant squid, and its giant nature isn't just an exaggeration. This animal is far smaller and far less deadly than many sailors even imagined. Just so you know, there's no record of a giant squid ever sinking a ship. The strange story of the Kraken became even more real in 1853, just when the remains of a giant squid washed ashore in Denmark. These creatures are still hard to find. In fact, they live in the deep, dark parts of the ocean that humans rarely see. And they are truly amazing. Giant squids have the largest eyes of any living creature. They can grow up to 18 meters long and are a favorite target of sperm whales. When threatened, most squids flee, but sometimes they fight back. So, it's not uncommon to find whales bearing scars from battles with these underwater giants. This creature didn't just appear out of nowhere. High up in the snowy Himalayas, the people of Nepal and China have long told stories of this huge, hairy creature, about 6 feet tall. But it wasn't until 1921 that the world really took notice of it. Some British explorers climbing Mount Everest claimed to have found very big footprints in the snow. The explorers said their guides called the creature Metokangmi, which meant something close to man-bear snowman. But then a journalist named Henry Newman stepped in, and this is where things got messy. He mistranslated the name. Instead of understanding meta as man-bear, he wrote it as filthy. And then, just to make it sound more dramatic, he changed filthy to abominable. That's how we ended up with the name, the Abominable Snowman. With a name like that, it's easy to imagine some wild, dangerous creature, maybe a lost tribe of giant humans living in caves. But if we go back to the original meaning, the man-bear snowman, things become a lot clearer. The people weren't describing a monster, they were describing something much more familiar. So, does the Yeti truly exist? Yes, but it's actually bears. Himalayan brown and black bears live in the same regions. They resemble humans in that they are large, hairy, and able to stand on their hind legs. DNA tests have also shown that most of the hair, teeth, and other evidence people thought belonged to the Yeti actually came from these bears. Dragons are probably the most famous ones in the world. Every culture seems to have their own version. Some look like giant reptiles. Some have huge bat-like wings, and almost all of them have sharp claws that could tear through anything. And of course, there's the most dramatic detail of all, fire blasting from their mouths like a living volcano. But here's something interesting. Why do dragons look so different from place to place? And why do so many cultures, even ones that never met each other, swear that dragons were real? The answer is actually surprisingly simple, and honestly, kind of cool. Dragons had so many different descriptions because the real dragons people based them on didn't all look the same. They also lived in different places, had different shapes, and came from completely different time periods. Long after these creatures died, their bones turned into fossils. People found these huge skeletons buried in the ground, and with no idea what dinosaurs were. They filled in the gaps with imagination. One significant thing, though, is that none of these real dragons actually breathed fire. That part came from fear, legends, and creative storytelling. These days, we refer to them as dinosaurs rather than dragons. And yes, dinosaurs are the true origin of dragon myths. Ancient societies most likely found dinosaur fossils and attempted to interpret them, particularly in regions like China, where dragon stories are prevalent. The result? The mythical dragons that pervaded old tales, artwork, and rituals. And just when you think dragons are the wildest creatures on this list, the next one might leave you speechless. In Maori stories, there's a terrifying bird called the Pouakai, which means old glutton. Stories say it could swoop down, snatch humans off the ground, and carry them away to eat. This might sound like something straight out of a scary tale, but the truth is, this bird really existed. In fact, in 1871, Frederick Richardson Fuller, a taxidermist at Canterbury Museum, proved it was real. The Pouakai truly existed. Today, we know it as the Haast's eagle, the largest eagle that ever lived. Its wings could span up to 3 meters. Still, stories say it mainly hunted a giant bird called the moa, which weighed between 100 and 250 kilograms. So humans, being much smaller, might have seemed like easy prey. Here's the part that makes things even more interesting. The Haast's eagle and the moa evolved long before humans ever reached New Zealand. So when the first people arrived, the eagle probably didn't know what to make of them. To the bird, these humans, wrapped in feathered cloaks and moving around on 2 legs, might have looked just like smaller, easier versions of the moa. Or maybe the eagle didn't bother thinking about it at all. Maybe it simply saw something new, something the right size, and added humans to its dinner list. We'll never know for sure. But between the legends and the science, one thing is clear. The Pouakai wasn't just a story. It was a real predator. Powerful, massive, and absolutely terrifying if you ever saw it swooping down from above. And if you thought the Haast's eagle was scary, meet the rock. This creature is so huge that it could make the eagle look tiny. Legends say it could pick up elephants in its talons. That sounds impossible, right? But then it gives you a sense of just how big people imagined it. Sailors long ago said the rock lived on an island off the coast of Africa. In truth, the creature behind the legend was the Aepyornis, also called the elephant bird. This bird lived on Madagascar, weighed about half a ton, and grew up to 10 feet tall, earning its place as the largest bird that ever walked the earth. But don't even imagine it flying off with elephants, as the Aepyornis couldn't fly at all. Also, there weren't any elephants on Madagascar anyway. Its massive size, however, was enough to inspire the stories that struck fear into people's imaginations. These birds existed until around 900 years ago and went extinct in the 1500s, likely because humans hunted them. And just while the rock ruled the skies, another creature was slowly making its mark deep in the ocean. So, the second on our list is the sea serpent, the creature that lived rent-free in sailors' nightmares for hundreds of years. Back then, men who spent months on the ocean would swear they saw a giant snake sliding through the waves, long enough to curl around a whole ship. And every time the story was retold at a new port, it somehow got bigger, scarier, and a little more ridiculous. But here's the funny part. The sea serpent actually is real, just not in the way those old stories described it. The creature behind the legend is the Oarfish, a long, shiny, ribbon-looking fish that really does move like a snake when it swims. From a distance, especially on a dark ocean, you can understand why someone might panic. That's pretty much where the scary part ends, though. Oarfish don't attack ships. They don't chase people. Honestly, they mostly just mind their business in the deep ocean. Still, they're impressive creatures. An oarfish can grow up to 30 feet long, about the length of a small bus. If you were a tired sailor and you saw a long silver shape pass under your boat, you'd probably tell a crazy story too. We don't see them often because they live way down in the dark parts of the ocean, where sunlight barely reaches. And instead of eating anything huge, they snack on tiny things like krill and small crustaceans. The first official discovery of the oarfish didn't even happen until 1772, centuries after sailors had already filled the world with sea serpent legends. So while the monster from the stories wasn't real, the animal behind it is still strange, beautiful, and mysterious in its own quiet way. Finally, on our list is one of the most anticipated creatures, gorilla. Sometime between the 5th and 6th centuries BC, a Carthaginian explorer named Hanno the Navigator sailed along these coasts and reported encountering a mysterious tribe. He described them as hairy and rude, with more males than females. The women he saw he called Gorillai, or hairy women. Hanno's party tried to chase them, but the males were fast. They climbed cliffs with ease and even threw stones at Hanno and his men. The women were slower, and the explorers managed to capture 3. But the captives fought fiercely, forcing Hanno's team to kill them. As evidence of what they had discovered, he returned to Carthage with their skins. The tale then vanished into folklore. No Westerner saw these creatures again until 1847, when an American missionary named T.S. Savage rediscovered them. These weren't humans at all. They were apes, the same creatures we now call gorillas. Savage named them Troglodytes gorilla in honor of Hanno's Gorillai, and over time, the name was simplified to just gorilla. Up till now, there's still some debate about whether Hanno actually saw gorillas or a different species of ape. But one thing is certain. What he reported centuries ago eventually led to the discovery of one of the most iconic creatures of the animal kingdom. From legend to reality, the gorilla went from myth to science, proving that sometimes the stories of old weren't so far off after all. And here, we wrap everything up. We've just taken you through 7 creatures that science has shown really exist. Now I'm curious, among all these creatures, which one grabbed your attention the most, and which one do you really believe is real? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't leave without hitting the like and subscribe button to watch out for our next video. The deeper you go, the scarier it gets, the mystery of the abyssal squid. This will blow your mind. See you next time.